Imagine spending weeks building the perfect automation. You map it out, you test it, everything works. And then you build another one. Same exact process, and it also works perfectly. But you don't know at the time that they're secretly working against each other. And for the past year, one of them has actually been deleting your customer data. This actually happened. I had this tech savvy client once who came to me and he was like, our automation isn't really working the way I think it should. Can you take a look at it? Long story short, diving in, figuring out what was going on, I realized that he had built two automations that were actually counterproductive for one, but two, actively working against each other, and one was actually deleting data when the other one was triggered, which really meant that an entire year's worth of customer data was gone. I was able to recover 2 out of thousands. Here's what's scary about this, because this wasn't a beginner mistake. They understood how to build automations, and they built both automations on purpose. But whoever built them and put them together did not understand how they were supposed to work together. Individually, perfect. But together, secretly destroying this company from the inside out. And that is tech debt. Exactly what this entire series has been going over in depth in every single department in your business. Anything tech related that is wasting your time, draining your resources, or driving your team crazy, which means you need a framework and not random fixes. You don't need those quick one-off solutions. You need an entire ecosystem designed specifically for the business you run and how you want to execute it. So I'm going to teach you in this video my 5-part framework for how I audit businesses to find their gaps and figure out where they are wasting the most time and money in their processes and operations. Here's the question I want you to ask yourself. Let's say you worked with the best marketer in the world and they got you 10 new clients this week. Would you be able to handle that extra capacity? If the answer is no, that means you have a systems problem, not a business problem. If I gave you those 10 hypothetical clients, then whatever system or bottleneck you imagined in your mind just now that would break immediately is exactly where you need to start. Step 1 in the framework is discover the pain. Everyone wants to talk about software. This tool sucks. That tool doesn't work. It takes so long to do this thing. But the pain isn't always the tool. Sometimes the tool is just fine, but you pick the wrong solution or the wrong execution of that tool. Or worse, you're solving the wrong problem. Your biggest opportunity for ROI is actually hiding in the complaints. Complaints, either from your team or from your customers, is actually your roadmap. Nobody likes to listen to complaining. I get it. Now, if you remember from video 4, I went over this invoicing process that went from night to day, saving them $60,000 a year. If you haven't watched that video, it's linked below. I highly recommend you go watch it. Here's what I want you to focus on, because when I interviewed each of the team members of this 5-person team, they were brutally honest. And why? Because I wasn't their boss. They told me everything. The manual data transfers that drove them crazy, how many different platforms they had to go check. They didn't just say, this sucks. They gave me actionable pain points that I could use to improve the entire process. And here's the rub, because when a boss is listening to complaining, they are actually taking that personally. But since I wasn't the boss, I didn't have to take it personally. I only had to listen within the complaining for the opportunities to improve this workflow. And you know something funny? The entire problem was solved with one integration, a couple of notifications, and one dashboard. That's it. I only knew what exactly needed to be built because I was actually willing to listen to the pain that people were complaining about. So here's what you need to do to discover the pain in your business. Ask your team these 3 questions. What processes do you hate the most? Where do you waste the most time? And what workaround have you created recently? Write down every answer. Or bonus, use an AI note taker and they'll write it down for you. But if you skip this step, then you're just guessing. And the problem is you may end up fixing the wrong thing. And so where your team feels the most pain is exactly where you need to start. But if you still need to find out where the pain is hiding in plain sight in your business, then do the tech health scorecard that I created. 10 minutes, 25 questions, but it's going to tell you which part of your operations is bogging down your business the most. Once you have that figured out, then you move to step 2 of the 5-part framework, which is to map your current setup. Because the fact is, you cannot fix what you can't see. Most businesses don't actually know what they have. I have been a tech consultant for almost a decade, and the number of people I have asked for their documentation, for their tech infrastructure documents, for anything in that area, and people just look at me like that loading sign on your computer when you're waiting for it to just play. So you need to map what you actually do today, not what you wish you had, what you actually are using to complete your work. Most businesses think they know their tech stack, but I promise you, once you start mapping it out, you're going to be surprised by what you find and how much overlap you have. In fact, I remember this one business, they wanted to, and I quote, automate their whole business in 30 days. And I remember we were on a sales call and I had asked, okay, so show me your documentation, show me all of your processes. And they literally said, we don't have any. On this sales call, I said, okay, then automating won't happen in 30 days. Probably breaking rule number 1 of any sales call, but I wanted to be honest because that wasn't going to happen. Not well, at least. Because here's the thing. Even if they had everything documented and mapped out, the timeline was an absolute fantasy. But the real problem wasn't the timeline. It was the trap that every single business falls into, especially in the beginning. They hear about this solution. It sounds amazing from the outside, but they don't know all the steps to actually execute and implement the solution well, or if it's even the right solution. And the implementation of whatever tool or process or solution you're implementing inevitably suffers. So here's what you need to do for step 2. You need to list every tool and subscription, which team uses those tools and subscriptions and what they use them for. Also, map out what connects to what. What integrations do you currently have set up? And are they one-directional or bi-directional syncs? Lastly, you need to know where the data gets manually moved versus automatically moved. Essentially, like I said, exactly what you do today. Not what the SOPs or the standard operating procedures say you should do, what you actually do. So you take a step back and you can actually see how everything is working together. Guaranteed, you're going to have hidden subscriptions that you completely forgot about, manual workarounds that have been normalized, definitely have systems or tools that don't talk but should. And you remember those dueling automations I told you about in the beginning? The fact is, if they had this map, they would have caught it before they implemented both of these automations. But this map is going to ensure that we do step 3 correctly. Like I said, identifying the gaps and the overlaps, because your map is going to tell you about 2 very specific types of technical debt. 1, tools doing the exact same thing, wasting money. And 2, tools that are not communicating, which is wasting time with manual effort and manual data transferring. Overlap means you're paying twice for the same function, but a gap means you're paying a human being to do tasks that a computer should be doing. And what's funny is you don't even need a big team for this to happen to you, because once I was working with this solopreneur and she did all the research, she read every article, she even asked AI about the best tools, and therefore she had so many things that she was using to operate her business. But the fact was she was drowning in tools. And after we worked together, she actually said, I canceled $1,000 worth of software in my first 90-minute meeting with Alyssa. We identified waste that I could put right back into my business. One meeting, $1,000 of annual savings, and all from me asking her one question. What do you want your Monday morning to look like? That extra $1,000 was hiding in tech overlap. But once we simplified and consolidated, her life and her business got exceptionally easier. And everybody falls into this trap, thinking that busyness is success. So when you're doing this assessment for your business, either for the gaps and the overlaps, look for 2 tools that are doing the same job or even capable of doing the same job. Look for manual work bridging systems, like what your team has to do to make sure that they're able to get all their work done. Now, this is where you're going to find where you're bleeding all of your money, because I guarantee you the most expensive technical debt is hiding in your overlaps and your gaps. And this 5-step process I'm telling you about is exactly what I do in my ecosystem audit and roadmap. We're going to map the whole system, find the overlaps, find the gaps, quantify what it's actually costing you to operate this way, and give you a 90-day roadmap to solve these problems. Plug the holes, if you will. If anything I've said sounds familiar, then you might need a tech clarity call where we actually figure out the roadmap from here to 90 days for you to actually get out of technical debt, because this is something I see all the time with so many different businesses. So the link's in the description if you actually want to talk to me about it. But until then, we need to come up with step 4, which is your implementation plan. Because most businesses actually start here and they overbuild or they underbuild, but both are expensive mistakes. The problem is people are asking, what is the coolest tool or what's the cheapest option, when really they need to be asking, what is the simplest and most reliable solution for this specific problem? And sometimes that's AI, but sometimes that's not AI. Now, early in my career, I was on this huge team project for companies that fixed the display menus at like fast food, like Taco Bell. And the tech team completely mapped out the exact solution for the service providers that went and fixed these monitors. They had a good plan and a clear plan for implementation. But about halfway through the project, someone from inside their company came and started interfering with the implementation. She wanted to rebuild the new system exactly the same way that the old system behaved. My boss actually described this perfectly. He was like, it's like she's trying to duct tape beat up old pickup truck parts onto her brand new Tesla. And I remember this one meeting specifically because here's how bad it got. One of the developers was like, you only have to click this one button and then everything happens automatically. And she goes, I need 3 clicks. And the developer's like, well, we can do it in 1 click. And she's like, well, in the old system, I had 3 clicks, so I need 3 clicks. And I remember all of us just looking completely dumbfounded, like, you want us to add in clicks on purpose? And it wasn't that she wanted it to go slower. She just wanted what she was comfortable with. Long story short, the system never worked at its full capacity and it had an ugly ending. It's really important that when you're implementing and executing on a technical solution, that there is at least one person on the team that is not emotionally or financially invested in the outcome. It's human. There's no judgment. But it's important to say because it'll save your business hundreds of thousands of dollars potentially down the road. Because if you overbuild, you're paying for a system you don't need. And if you underbuild, then it's a Band-Aid on a problem that's going to have a bigger problem later. Because the goal isn't to find the most impressive or most expensive solution. It's actually to find the solution that works the best for your business. But if you're just getting started with this, maybe you just need to understand what an automation is and how they actually work within your business. And that's why I created a free mini course on building automations, and I put it in my free membership site, which there is a link below if you want to create. It's completely free. There's a ton of free resources in there. But the reality is you should be leaning on somebody who has a decade's worth of experience teaching you how to think through automations, not have dueling systems, no 3-click requirements. Most importantly, though, how to actually test your automations so that they don't break later and you don't know about it. So that link's in description and it's completely free. So last and arguably the most important step that nobody actually does is change management. And I'm not even kidding when I say that 90% of people actually skip this step. The sad part is this is actually the step that either makes or breaks the return on your investment for the new tech that you're putting in your business. Because great systems die when people don't use them. What's worse, tech people don't use or having no tech at all? Because they're basically the same outcome. And if it's delivering zero value, then that's what it's worth. I remember this $60 million healthcare company I was working with, and we built an entire automated process for their service team. Beautiful system, and it was really fun to build it. We told their project manager exactly what to do for the change management, step by step. But what we were told was it's too hard to get everybody in the same room and that he would handle it internally. The fact is, when we rolled it out, nobody used it because nobody really knew it was there. And why this happened was because at the time, he just wasn't a respected authority in the business. This is kind of a problem sometimes with corporate environments. And I do have a theory, though, about why it's so hard to roll out technical implementations and get people to actually understand what they are, what they do, and how they help you, right? It's because, if I was an actual architect, like if I built buildings, I could sit there and say when it was done, like, look at the building I built, and everybody would look at it and we'd all know there was a building there. And because I told you I built it, there would be no reason to assume otherwise, but you'd be able to see it. You'd tangibly be able to say, that's what it looks like. The problem is when I do the same thing with tech and I build technical infrastructure, you are forced to imagine it in your head. And the problem is if you don't know what it looks like, I think it's very hard for people to actually imagine it. And it's especially hard to imagine things you've never seen before. Or that invoicing process story that I referenced in video 4. The one key difference between the story of this guy who couldn't get anything actually rolled out within the team and the invoicing story is that when the boss came to me and said, I think you made it too easy, that nobody trusts it, it's because of the amount of change management that I did to make sure that that process was not only adopted, but actually used going forward. And not in a techie way, it was more benefit driven. Like, for instance, you don't have to go to 2 different platforms anymore. You only have to go to one place now. And even though they didn't trust it at first, they did end up using it. If you're going to implement any new tech in your business and you don't listen to anything else in this video, listen to this one thing. Preparing that team for that change made all the difference when that tech was rolled out to the business. So there are a few steps when it comes to change management. So here's what that looks like. Phase 1 is you have to tell people what change is coming. You don't have to tell them how or why or what it's going to look like. You just have to give them a heads up and get them excited about the outcome. And it gives them time. It gives your team time to mentally prepare because let's face it, no human is good at change. Phase 2 is show them how it works because once everything is built, you need to build the training, the documentation, and a timeline for when the old process is going to end and the new process is going to begin. Don't just roll out new things and hope people figure it out. And the last step, which is my favorite because we started with complaints and now we're going to end with complaints. And all I'm going to say is phase 3 is just give them a place to complain because I guarantee you, if you give somebody a place to actually tell you how they really feel about things, 9 times out of 10, they're not going to actually use it. But if you don't give people a place for feedback, then they're going to do the talking behind the back and the water cooler talk. But if you don't have any change management, adoption is inevitably going to fail, not only wasted on the money you're spending for the tech, but the money and time you spent to build it and the people who you're paying to not use it. So this is my 5-part framework for actually doing ecosystem audits and roadmaps, meaning a 90-day plan for you to go from pain in your business with your tech to pleasure in your business with your tech. Now, here's the reality. If you skip any of these steps, here's what's going to happen. Every one of these steps is essential and they all build on each other to not only find the right technical solution for the problem that you're facing, but also how they work together to make your business operations as seamless and effortless as possible. Because when you're inside your business, sometimes you're too close and it's hard to tell which tools are the best for the solution, especially when you've used one for so long. You know the history and you justify those workarounds that you've built. But the true value of this is how it all works together. And this is not only just how each technical system works together, it's how the humans and the tech work together to make the business operate. And that's what an outside perspective reveals. I'm just here to show you what works, point out what doesn't, and where to start to fix the problem first. That's the 5-part framework. If you want to do this yourself, I've been doing this for nearly a decade. Let's say you get through step 1 and you realize, you kind of want a heavyweight boxer in your corner, then that's when you schedule your tech clarity call. 30 minutes, totally free, and we're going to find out where your systems are currently stealing all of your time and money. And more importantly, we need to quantify what that's actually worth. So if you are a service business, consultancy, or agency, especially CRM or RevOps groups, all of these businesses know that they are bleeding time and money through their tech. But if you want to do some of your own digging before we actually talk about it, then I made the free membership site, the Winning Business Vault, where you can access resources that you can get started with today, like how to get AI to write in your voice, how to rank in AI search, how to build bulletproof automations, and tons more. That's linked in the description and that's completely free. And going forward, the ones that clean their systems up are the ones that are going to be profitable. So now you know. where it hides, and how to fix it. I'm Alyssa, the business cowgirl, and this has been the Technical Debt Detox series. If you've been watching for the 6 weeks, thank you. Now go fix it. I'll see you on the other side and on our clarity call.